going on, guys? Peace, love, and power. It is your boy, Joshua Silva.
And I'm Jimmy LeVar. And behind every person is love.
My name is Annie Sama, and it's all about the vibe.
Free to visualize the way that you go for anywhere I'm gonna go. Like a black chick, but then you fell in love, but then you got scared and stuck to your plan. Turn into a real grip, and I feel the breeze and you call moments to far. Quantum disappeared in mankind, hitting your heart and mind like a drive-by. Seems there's peace in the morning, keys are all. Let it be the bright princess and the peace, so la la la.
Here we go. Let's clap it up. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. How is everything going?
Well, if you're talking to me, things are pretty good. Montreal is cute. It's fun. It's summertime. It's a party city. It's a beautiful city. So welcome also in my studio.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Because at first I was like, are you in Montreal right now? Are you in New York right now? Because I know you go back and forth between those places, right?
Yeah. I move a lot, but my home base is in Montreal. So, but before the pandemic, it was pretty much in my suitcase because, yeah,
Shit
happens. But
No, for sure.
yeah,
So what we would like to do is we would like to take it back, and we would like to take it back kind of from how everything started for you, and kind of what got you on the path that you are today and where you're at today in your career.
Well, that's a big question. Where do you want to start?
Let's start off with the upbringing. You spent eras growing up with your grandparents, and let's start there.
I grew up in a very, very small town in Quebec, outside of Montreal on a small farm. And I grew up with my mom and my stepdad, and I was very, very close to my grandparents. So I would be always be there. But my grandparents were artists. They were ballroom dancers. So it was really cool because we had this huge space because they built themselves a house with like a ballroom hall to give lessons and with mirror and like a peanut machine and like a Coca-Cola machine and like those kind of things. So it was like just like this blank canvas that would stir creativity and also nature a lot. I'm very connected to nature. So I grew up there, and then I kind of knew that I was meant for traveling, and so I moved to Montreal, did a bunch of things. I was never really good in school, so I hustled my way through work and stuff like that. And then I went back to school and off school. But then I studied 2 years of classical singing, and I really got serious about my music. And then I did 7 years of jazz. And yeah, that pretty much brought me my musical training. And jazz is kind of like an important thing, I think, for our community and our history, actually.
Well, absolutely. And it's so cool that you got to spend so much time with your grandparents, because my grandparents also raised me. So I just think I just always like find it interesting when I meet somebody else that was just like always around their grandparents, because like it's like a similarity there. Like people usually seem to be a little bit more like in tune with nature, a bit more relaxed, but still like, there's still like spaces that differentiate from everyone. But is there any special memories that you have from like your grandparents that kind of cultivate the theme of some of your music, and pretty much like how, because your music also has a fantasy element that I've noticed to it, that's just kind of, it's like, are we dreaming right now, or are we in reality, like, or is it a mixture of both? Where does that come from?
I mean, I think you guys kind of like understood the cinematic ideology around it.
Mm.
And I think, like my grandparents were also, my great grandfather was working leather, and my grandmother was a seamstress, if I would say a designer, because she would make me like the craziest outfits. And my grandfather also worked leather, so they would teach at night, and I would see my grandparents, I would like be in the stairs and see all like old couples kind of like dancing, but like he was a showman. Like he was literally a showman, and with such class and love for his art. But then they would go and be like super quiet and like work on different projects that they would have. So I think for me, it's those two sides that I kind of needed for my career to be able to, go back into the studio and like work like a little ant underground, and then come out and be on stage and like be this full on, part of me that I can be extroverted, but I'm very introverted in that sense, where I can stay many, many hours alone, just creating, painting, making art. So, but one thing to understand about me that's on my father's side is like my last name is Sama, and Sama, I'm half African, I'm half Congolese. And Sama means termite. And the symbolism of termite is we built in the underground this society and these connections, and we weave the earth to build up to the sky and channel the two energies. So, and in a really weird way, I embody that in a very, very strong direction in what I do. So sometimes I disappear and I do things like this, and then I'm reappear and I'm back on, on this kind of like in front of the camera, or so that's what I got from my grandfather, and my grandmother, and also the love for their craft.
Gotcha.
Like, and the love for craft and the respect for people who actually do things, like you guys that have a podcast and try to, and not try, but that generate sharing ideas and sharing, people's art and point of view and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And can we give a clap to you and your grandparents and everybody?
I mean, clap to you guys. Thank you for having me. I mean,
thank you.
This is so fun. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, no, wow. That was a lot, and I feel you 100%, with everything that you got going on. And one thing, I read a few things, but what caught my attention is mainly everything that I read, articles that was written about you, or that came from you, is you speak so genuine. It sounds like you speak from the heart, and that's amazing. Can you tell me, being in the industry and with everything that you've dealt with and just life, how do you channel obstacles that come your way? How are you able to find the balance between the negative and the positive within this industry?
Well, when I was studying music, I knew that I was kind of like I was not the type of person, you know, like that would want to enter some kind of mold. I had like really, really strong vision. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with it, but I had a really strong vision of, you know, pushing boundaries, pushing some kind of like limit. And that limit, for me, pushing it gave me some kind of like freedom where, you know, like I was never signed by a major label. And I was, you know, I always had like really, really small teams helping me here and there, but I always drove my intention into being as real as possible. And I think this is a little bit why, you know, yeah, sometimes it's discouraging because obviously, you know, doing everything yourself is for me, I try to do everything myself, but to the level of, let's say, a label, you know? So, and I never really declared that I had a label or anything. I just wanted to do one project after another. But that, like, a lot of creatives around me drove me to be like, okay, like we want to create with you and we want to collaborate. And I think it's about collaboration. I think this is where like you can keep up when people who do like really nice visuals or do nice design or whatever, they come to you and they're like, hey, you know, like your thing is like, I've never heard this, so let's collab because I never heard this. And I'm like,
and it's
okay.
dope.
I never wanted, you know, I studied jazz and I love R&B. I love hip hop. I love house music. Like I consume it very strongly and I totally understand how to produce that, how to make that, how to do it in a musical sense. It's just with my first few LPs, I just wanted to do something different. I just wanted to not use any samples, not use anything that anyone had done before, and create this kind of like weird world. And I think that's my drive. I just wanted to not, and some people hate it, like some people love it. Like it really didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was the exercise and the art that went with it. So that when I'm on stage and I play, let's say, Treehouse, the bass is it's such like a crazy bass that you feel like you could be in a punk rock, but you're in some electronic / R&B juice. And it's like,
I like that.
and it's like, okay, what's happening? So a lot of people, like, they stop and they're like, whoa, I live something that I've never lived before. And that was pretty much my drive, you know?
So is it safe to say that like you're not really big on like a particular category? Because when people are listening to your music and they're trying to figure you out, like the first thing I can think of is probably alternative. Like, are you okay with people calling your music alternative, or like what does alternative really mean to you as it relates to your music that you create?
You know, a lot of, like, sometimes you can say it's alternative. A lot of people said that it was, yeah, I had a lot of like different ways of seeing it depending on the industry, depending on who I'm talking to. You know, if somebody comes more from the rock background, they're going to be like, oh, you know, like it makes me think of like, you know, some bands like you know, like Bjork, or like, you know, some you know, like some weird, you know, ideology. And then sometimes I get, you know, I get the alternative. Sometimes I got cinematic pop. I got like different styles like that that were I had like cinematic R&B one time. You know, like I think to create a new genre is a weird thing,
Gotcha.
but at the same time I kind of like own it, you know, like I just feel like we have so much opportunity to use, like I use Ableton Live. We have so much opportunity to create new things and to, yes, look back in a very beautiful way. And I love it. You know, I hear samples from vinyls like that producers use and stuff like that. But for me, it was always easier to have free of right music as well. And like use some like weird things like this to create basses and you know, make noises. And I use a lot of samples that I sample in life as well. So yeah.
Wow.
You know, I'll definitely say that your music definitely, it speaks freely. You know, you had said something that you said we had complete freedom to play and be children. And when I hear your music, that's what I hear. I hear freedom. I hear full creativity and you creating whatever it is that you feel in that moment or within that time. And that's dope because like you said, you know, it's kind of like creating a different category of some sort. And not everyone is going to like it, you know, but hey, that's okay. You know, not everything is for everyone and that's okay.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of the people that are open to like, I mean, different type of songs that I did, because each song tells a story, and a lot of the people are creatives. A lot of the people are people that are just want to hear also something else in the music. They're music fan. They're gonna be like people who are gonna like sit down and they're gonna like listen with headphones and really try to like understand like the rhythmic. On my first album, I used a lot of like African percussions through electronic music, and it was like really just like some grooves, you know. And then I went to a little bit more electronic, and I mean, it's fun. That's that's why I do it.
And that's
You
what it's
know?
all about.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I can have people dream and have people under, like, my job is to bring people, like you were saying, from the unknown world to this world and like connect both worlds as well.
Wow. I mean, well, sorry, brother.
No, go ahead, brother. Sorry.
All right. So what I was going to say was that, you know, it's something about when the word jazz is brought up, there's like this glare in your eyes. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's like, what is it about jazz that I feel like there's a special place that jazz has in your heart? Like, is there like more to the story with that?
I think I always had a very, very strong connection with jazz, in a sense that when I started studying it, you know, like I would scat a lot. Scat for me was about rhythmic, was about improvisation, was about like having in my head and seeing where it was going, feeling the textures of the different solos that would, let's say, Stan Getz or you know, or Miles Davis, and then like feeling it and understanding the textures that these artists that were so well known for their sound, and how to recreate it through my voice, and how to create this. Like I had like, you know, I started to understand like bass, and started to understand like where does it sit and how does it groove, and where does like, and then those milliseconds and those sync ups would come in. And I wasn't really that good at reading, but I was good at this whole idea, and understanding the arrangements that these people, like if you look at Monk, you know, like the atonal way that he was playing was so meticulous and so open, and it really opened up like a whole world for me. And I loved listening to it like for hours, and hear sometimes like the pedals, and how they would just like drive their instruments, to the core, like the piano was used, you know. And also like the jazz singers, and like all their emotions, and the way they were like portraying the stories, and interpreting these different songs. I think it was a truly beautiful era for us to, you know, to study. And, you know, I studied a little bit also classical music. So for me, the jazz was just this opening of this new world that also inspired me, and that still inspires me now. I mean, Kind of Blue, for me, that album was just out of this world. I would sit and listen to it for hours.
No, I love that. That's beautiful. You know, that jazz has such an impact on you the way that it did, and it still does to this day. And you know, my next question for you is it true during your studio breaks that you meditate?
Yeah, I meditate.
Can you tell me about that?
I'm like a like a weird bird, in the sense that it has to become my home.
Mm,
So if I need to, I want to give myself all the tools to be able to be like at my 100%. So you know, the first time that I booked a studio, I booked a studio near a river. I wanted to be in nature. I had all prepared, all my sessions, all my samples, and we were going to Studio 2, bring back the synths that I did, and then bring them within the compressors and all the machines to give the synthetic sound some richness, and to use like the piano and everything. So, you know, like I went there, I cooked for everyone. Like sometimes I bring, like if it's the winter, I bring broth. Like I'm a homey person, you know, and then, you know, I would have like this huge like meal for everyone. And then, you know, if I needed to go and refresh myself, or, you know, I would go sit just like and meditate, and then go back to my session. And sometimes also, I think musicians want to have their time. So doing a session with me is a different thing than, I think, maybe other producers.
uh,
Yeah, I tend to, you know, have it, and the people who collaborate with me, I think, you know, they always, you know, we always come out of it, and it's such a positive and cool time. So, you know, sometimes it would go for a break for a coffee, and I would sit down and meditate.
mm,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. No, that's dope. That's beautiful. That's peaceful. It's different, right? It's not like your most typical artist nowadays that probably go in the studio, smoke a couple joints or bring a bottle of Hennessy or bring a whole bunch of strippers or whatever the case may be, depending on their vibe, versus going in the studio, kind of having like a game plan of where you want to be at 200%. And then during that process, take a break and then, go back to that 200% to then bring yourself back to that mindset. So yeah, it's beautiful. That's dope. That's what's up. Okay.
Oh, you broke that down there. Also, on this podcast, another thing, we ask every single guest that comes to the show is, there's so many different ways of how we look at spirituality and what that means to us. What exactly does spirituality mean to you?
I like, even when I was a kid, I didn't quite understand what spirituality was. And, like I understand a little bit more, but I think everybody has their own spirituality or,
Exactly.
I really like to approach it as really a personal thing. There's this really there's a lot of things that inspired me in my work and a lot of things that I researched. And one of the things was also about, I was talking to you about movement and textures. And I'm taking a sideway here, but hear me out.
Fine. Hey, go ahead.
There's this really amazing Buddhist monks that are walking monks. And basically their journey is about walking. And they're going to eat when people actually give them food. And they're going to stop when they need to stop. But they're the walking monks and they do consciously one step after another. So, just that practice for me is really something that that inspired me within my practice to be conscious of the movements that we do or the sounds that I bring or, things that I bringing forward. I think this is where, we grow and within our, if we have a practice or not, but I think it's a very personal thing. And I think it should be. I think it should be looking within and not looking outside. So for me, I try not I'm not into getting into a movement of consciousness. I like sharing ideas. No, sorry, I said that wrong. I like to share idea. I like the movement of consciousness, but I don't like to be part of a box of that spirituality. So I think everybody's made a little bit different. Their conception of life is different, and people need different things within their spiritual realm and where they are within the understanding of life and how they see life and how they've been influenced, and I think it's beautiful in its own way. So this is why for me spirituality is something that really should be from the inside and not necessarily outside. The outside is a very good channel of getting information and to help us to get back in there. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just taking it all in.
Yeah. No, we're just letting it soak up in.
No, definitely makes sense.
Can I show you guys something?
Yeah.
I have this really cool crystal.
That's crystal.
Interesting.
I started my career. Well, no, but I started doing shows. Unfortunately, my other crystal got stolen. It was like I would start my shows with this huge crystal and I would go on stage and I would like walk in and then put the crystal in front of me. Somebody stole it, obviously. But No, but you have to understand, crystals, sometimes you have a crystal, but at one point, some people might need it more than you do. So I think this is what this crystal's life had to live. Somebody needed that crystal more than I did.
Mm,
But, and maybe that's why I brought it to that person on stage.
mm,
But I think these crystal, and I have different types, different names, and my first name was a pigeon. My mom's last name is Pigeon, so A for Annie, Pigeon. So, and so I brought this back from Brazil, and that's the P for the pigeon, and it's been following me. And I think, you know, spirituality can go through different types of objects or energy, or even like the people that you surround yourself with. So
wow.
that's a little bit
Absolutely. Can we give a round of applause to that answer? Spirituality. Yes. 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 I love it. I love it. And I agree and understand 100%. And I love the fact that you have another perspective and an insight of even something that happened with somebody stealing your crystal, a negative, you looked at it in more of a positive perspective, and you know, looking at it in the way, you know, saying maybe you brought that crystal to that person because they need it. Like that's a beautiful way of thinking, um, and being able to have both sides of that perspective. You know, when you have the bad, you have to look at the good, and when you look at the good, sometimes there's bad. You know, and as we get ready to wrap it up, I have a couple more questions I want to go ahead and ask you. Um, my next question is, I had read that you do something like extremely dope for your birthday. You get, you bring people together who don't really know each other, and you do it in the aspect of bringing like genuine people together that would enjoy basically, you know, meeting new people and getting new, you know, backgrounds of others' cultures and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little bit about that and kind of, you know, how often do you do that for your birthdays?
well, I mean, I used to do it a lot more, but I don't only do it for my birthday. It's
Mm,
something that I like to do once in a while and just like bring some people together.
mm,
And I think it's important um, to have people that would not never meet each other in some way,
mm,
to have a dialogue. And I think all the people that I invited are dope. You know, you know, when I was studying music, I paid for my school working in a tattoo shop, and I was a piercer and manager, and I was managing the shop while I was studying jazz, you know. And one thing that I learned there is that, you know, you have all the walks of life that pass by into a tattoo shop. And also working in hotels or stuff like that when I was younger, for me it was kind of like you see everyone and you see everyone, you know.
mm,
And that's a little bit my mission going on forward as well. And that's a little bit what I'm preparing, even to a more of an extent than dinners or having people together to celebrate,
mm,
or you know, or do a project on my birthday. Sometimes I do that. I
mm,
create a project and we do a project on the day of my birthday.
mm.
I did a video clip the day of my birthday with people that never worked together, that don't know each other. I just like put a bunch of friends from different things and we just did something. And it's so beautiful because, you know, the 2-3 weeks after, I'm like, hey, and they're like, hey, I saw so and so, and you know, like I understood that, and I that was really interesting. And and bringing different communities together as well. So I actually started a page called Ekati Projects. And this is the kind of projects that I'm going to be putting forward as well, is to talk about these people that I really love, talk about the people that I admire, and talk about how can we improve, like you're saying, like our consciousness through multifacets. Sometimes I meet an architect and the next day I'm going to be with a drag queen, and she is going to be teaching me how to, like, you know, how to perform, or how to you know, how to do some costume or so. And then the next day I'm going to meet a mathematician that has a vision for like our future, or like quantum physics, you know. And things like that. I think we should all meet. We all need each other. So yeah, so this is my new venture as well, that I'm kind of like adding. And I asked myself, what do you want to do? And that's weird that you're asking me that, because connecting the people together is one of the things that I see myself doing for a long time.
So a fun fact, the last time I actually got everybody together, it was for my birthday actually. And I got an Airbnb, and like the reason why I got this Airbnb was because it had like all these like different books and like spiritual representation, like things like around it. And I was just like, something about this Airbnb, like it's telling me to book in my birthday. Long story short, I go downstairs, get one of my friends, everybody's mingling, kind of like you said, like had so many different groups of people from different walks of life, and they were taking turns on a Ouija board. I had not gone yet. Well, I didn't go at all. But long story short, I walk out, and apparently there was something on the table that started levitating as soon as I walked out. And once I came in, it dropped. And like, so it's, you know, I'll get people together again, but it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, you know, playing with entities is a different world. You know,
Yeah.
you have to know a little bit how to open the doors and close the doors and everything. I think it's like, it has, for me, it has something that, you know, I would, you know, do very carefully. But, you know, like, that place maybe was the vector of something. And the thing is that what you open doesn't mean necessarily that it's not good. It might be good as well, because there's not only bad entities here and there, you know.
Yeah.
So, but people that would, you know, come together, you know, created something, and they created this portal, and they created this amazing story, actually.
I mean, I guess what I take from it is that as soon as I walked out the door is when the thing started levitating, and as soon as I came in is when it came, like, I guess, down. And it's also interesting that I'm the only one that didn't play. So it was kind of just something that, you know, I thought to just bring up.
Yeah, but maybe it's just because you weren't part of the circle. Sometimes if it's creating, you have to understand, like, energy has a circuit. So when a different energy comes and creates, and that's only, maybe it is not, but it just can just create just like a different circuit. So energy can be just like touchy in that way, and might not even have to do anything with you, but just in the way that it was circulating and being flowed within what they were doing. So that could be one thing, but it's, I don't know, I wasn't there. And
right.
I am not this entity, but the energy is it's just the flow if you think about it. And that changed my life actually in grade 9 or something like that, or grade 10. And the first time that one of my science teacher told me, he's like, we're electrons. And I was like, well, wait. He's like, yeah, a rock is not solid. And I was like, okay, you got me. This is it. This is like, I understood. I was like, this is all energy, because this is what we are. In science, if you look at the tiny, this is what we are. We are vibrations, these atoms. And so yeah, sorry guys, let's move on to the next question.
You're totally fine. Yeah, we're about to get ready to wrap it up, but to end it off, you had said, you unite creatives, and to end off what you said, bringing people together, different cultures and background. It's an amazing thing. I love it. Continue to keep doing it, because we need more creatives and human beings like us that thrive off of love, support, positive vibes, and good energy. And all we can do is take it one day at a time, one step by step. We can't change the world, nor do we have the power to, but we have the power to change our current and our reality. And my last question for you: when's the last time you jump rope?
Last time I jump rope was last week.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do it quite often. I still love to do it, actually. It's part of my training. It's part of what I do, depending on when I'm training and what's happening. Jump rope for me is I think it's always gonna stay.
Yeah.
I did it, like, I used to, when I was a kid, we used to do jump rope for heart and like raise some money for like heart disease. And it just stuck with me. Like, I love just,
that momentum.
So you guys are gonna, that momentum, and it's playful and it's fun and gives you good cardio. And I also started doing boxing, which is like a fun sport. I don't box with other people. I box on a big
the bag
thing, the bag. But I'm actually not too well. I think I'm pretty good at it. Like, I got some good position, and it's something that I really love to do. So
okay,
well, cool.
Brother,
kickboxing.
Yeah, brother Jimmy just started.
Yeah, I started doing kickboxing classes like 3 weeks ago.
No way, it's so fun, right?
Yeah, it is.
It gives you the best cardio, and you just like, your position is just like, and it's fun to keep like, a healthy way of living. So for me, the skipping rope is just also part of it a little bit. So
good.
Gotcha.
Good.
Hey guys, I wanted to ask you one thing.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you one thing. So going on further with the show, because this is really cool and what you're doing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be like a dope series of interviews like that. Where do you see, and where do you see yourself with that show? What's going to be happening, and what should we kind of like prepare ourselves to, or what are your dreams about it? Because I see something really beautiful, and I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. That was the first question that we've had kind of to, the show itself. I tend not to think where the company is going to be at in the future. I tend to just put my full energy into the company now in the present, and kind of just live my life day as it flows. Obviously, having everything organized and come together as one, because we have the entertainment company, which has the podcast show, and then we have the events and stuff like that. But, mainly, I just want to continue to have positive, creative artists on the show who has a mindset of spreading peace, love, and positivity, and through their craft and kind of just I want to continue to help wake up the world in a sense, right? Because when creatives like us speak, and we speak from a place of knowledge or a place from experience, we're able to give gems and we're able to pass advice to others who may not be able to have that around them at that time, and they could possibly hear it and get it from us. So that's the plan, is to continue to just keep having great artists and creatives and entertainers who are doing great things, and keep pushing peace, love, and power.
And good vibes.
And good vibes. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's really, really wonderful. I always appreciate to be part of that. And thank you so much for having me, guys. It was a blessing.
No, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And that's all the time. You already know, peace, love, and power. It is your boy, Joshua October.
I'm Jimmy Levard, and I believe behind every person is love.
My name is Annie Sama, and I am from Montreal, and welcome in my studio, sending love.
This is BAMP Podcast Season 2, the online experience.
You already know.